Welcome to the Folklore Hearth, where tonight we gather around the warmth of the fire to explore some cherished tales from Ireland. Among them, we'll hear of a curious event with the King of the Cats and the enchanting story of the Children of Lir. Together, we'll wander through the timeless echoes of these legends. If you find comfort and joy in these whispered stories, feel free to like or subscribe, only if you genuinely enjoy these tellings. I always love hearing where you're listening from. What corner of the world are you in? And what time is it for you? As we settle in, perhaps dim the lights just a touch, or get cozy under a soft blanket, letting the day slip away. Now, let's begin with the mysterious and magical tale of the King of the Cats. There was once a quiet little village nestled comfortably within a lush, emerald valley, where moss-draped stone cottages rested amid whispering fields of heather and clover. Here, the winds carried tales as gently as they did the fragrances of peat smoke and wildflowers, seeping through the thatched roofs and wooden beams. In one such cottage lived a man, a simple fellow devoted to everyday charms, like the music of a bubbling brook nearby, or the silvery dance of moonbeams upon the window panes. He was a man of habit and modest cheer, living content among the rolling hills and gentle mists of his homeland. One evening, as the sun surrendered to a sky strewn with twinkling stars, he set out to visit a friend in a neighboring hamlet. The path he trod meandered beneath a canopy of whispering oaks and elms, whose silhouettes etched intricate patterns against the deepening dusk. The air was alive with the soft sounds of evening, the lilting call of a distant owl, the rustle of underbrush, where woodland creatures stirred, and the soothing murmur of the stream that shadowed his path. Only the occasional glimmer of lamplight from afar, or the distant twinkle of a cottage window, punctuated the rolling darkness. Upon reaching his friend's abode, he found a bubbling hearth and a seat awaiting him. The room was warm and comforting, with the scent of fresh baked bread mingling with the earthy aroma of the peat fire. They settled into easy conversation, exchanging news and stories that the day had spun. Yet it was a stranger tale that caught the man's ear that evening, a tale shared with an air of quiet wonder. His friend recounted an unusual episode witnessed by a passerby at a nearby crossroads, a curious gathering of cats. Not just any cats, mind you, but creatures that seem to possess an otherworldly intelligence, bedecked in garments of fine cloth, conversing in solemn meows and yowls. This congress of felines had come together to mourn, for their old king had passed into the shadowed realm, leaving them in search of a new sovereign. The tale was recounted with such earnestness and a twinkle of whimsy that it stirred a ripple of delight within the man's heart. Imagining the spectacle of these esteemed creatures gathering to honor their fallen leader brought a warm smile to his lips, even as he vowed to hold the wondrous yarn in the sweetest folds of his memory. With spirits buoyed by companionship and tales, and the hour drawing late, he took his leave. The night air caressed his cheeks as he retraced his steps homeward, a gentle chill softening the edges of his thoughts into a languid tranquility. Wisps of moonlit mist swirled about his feet, lending an air of magical possibilities as he made his way through the rustling meadow, the grasses serenading him with their quiet, rhythmic whispers. Upon crossing the threshold of his own dwelling, he was greeted by his cat, a sleek, midnight black creature who ruled the household with quiet dignity. This feline, with eyes that held the mysteries of 1,000 starry nights, seemed always to carry a secret knowledge in its serene gaze. As the man shut the door against the chill of night, the warmth and dim glow of lantern light wrapped him in familiar comfort. To amuse himself, and perhaps to entertain those wise eyes, he recounted the tale of the feline gathering to his cat, his words softened by laughter and a touch of dramatic enthusiasm. "Imagine," he chuckled, "that their old king is gone, and they must find another. Fancy you attending such a parliament of cats, or even ascending the regal throne yourself." At these words, the cat paused its lazy grooming, fixing the man with a gaze both piercing and unfathomable. Then, in a most astounding turn, the cat stretched fully, standing on hind legs, with an elegance befitting a true regent. Its voice, though quiet, carried a timbre of authority as it declared, "The old king is dead. Then I am the king of the cats now." And with that proclamation, as fluid as a shadow cast upon water, the cat sprang toward the hearth, and, in a flicker of black tail-tip, darted up the chimney and away into the night, leaving behind a moment frozen in expectant stillness. The man, though startled, felt no fear. Rather, he was enveloped by a lingering sense of amusement and wonder, as though he had witnessed the turning of a page in some ancient, hidden tome. He settled into his chair by the hearth, where the fire crackled with soothing warmth, and allowed his mind to float upon the currents of this new-found mystery. The soft light danced over the wooden floors, and the wind sang through the thatch above, interweaving with the symphony of the cricket's refrain. Outside, the night stretched its velvety expanse, the moon casting a gentle glow over the world. A world now just a whisper more enchanted. And so he sat, pondering the fantastical twist his evening had taken, wondering where his feline companion might now be. Perhaps bounding through moonlit glades, conversing with starlit felines, or weaving through the branches of ancient oaks under the watchful eyes of owl and fox. His mind, lulled by the fire's warmth and the melodic hush of the valley night, began to drift and sway like a leaf upon a sleepy stream. The tale of cats and kings circled round his thoughts in lilting loops, inviting a gentle surrender to the dreams that lay beyond. In that tranquil realm of darkness and light, where shadows dance with echoes of forgotten lore, he let his consciousness slip, dreaming of regal cats with eyes of emerald and topaz, crowned by mist and moonlight, as they whispered secrets to the stars. And somewhere in the night, under the vast reach of the sky, where the heather sighs and the mountains murmur, a new king of the cats began his silent reign, watched over by the ageless rhythms of the world. Thus ends the tale of the king of the cats, a tale spun from shadows and stars, leaving behind a gentle mystery and the soft lull of slumber's embrace. May it carry you into the deepest reaches of your dreams, as softly as the winds that sweep across the hills of old Ireland. As the man reclined deeper into his chair, the hearth's warmth seeped into his bones like a familiar lullaby woven from the soft crackles and pops of burning peat. Time seemed to slow, wrapping around him in a comfortable cloak of serenity. His eyes grew heavy, but his thoughts still wandered with lively curiosity. The tale of the feline monarchy clung to his thoughts. Images of velvety paws treading silently through moonlit groves, and cats draped in their finest velvet and silks, danced before his mind's eye. He tried to imagine where his own sleek shadow had gone, perhaps leaping gracefully upon the stone walls, or disappearing into the velvet folds of the night. What kind of kingdom awaited a cat of such enigmatic mien? The reflection of the firelight flickered and spoke in its own language of motion on the walls, dancing like the very cats of the tale, climbing imaginary trees and slipping into unseen burrows. The house, now devoid of its feline presence, felt different, more a canvas for dreams and possibilities than just timber and stone. As he ruminated, the scent of heather-laden breezes filtered gently through the room, mingling with the comforting aroma of the peat. The night seemed rich with stories, with each rustling leaf and gentle gust whispering of old tales and new adventures. They wound their way through the valley like spectral storytellers, weaving through the dusk as effortlessly as cats through grass. In his drowsy state, He could almost hear the distant gathering of the feline congress, their voices harmonious yet impenetrable, like the babble of a brook. Perhaps, he mused, they spoke of the affairs of the world, or maybe exchanged tales of the humans with whom they lived. In his hazy imaginings, he could almost picture them now, their eyes brilliant under the moonlight, orchestrating plans known only to them. Outside, the night sky stretched infinitely, sparkling with a sea of diamonds. The crisp air carried the sound of the owl's solitary call, a melody of the mysterious and the familiar. Each note seemed a part of a greater symphony, one that included the flutter of moth wings, the gentle hum of nocturnal insects, and the distant croon of the wind as it threaded through the heather. As the evening wore on, the man found himself drifting further into slumber, where dreams melded seamlessly with reality. He dreamt of towering woods bathed in moonlight, and of great feline processions weaving through the underbrush with regal grace. Each stride was a whisper, each leap an echo in the symphony of the night. And amidst it all, in this shadowy realm between waking and sleep, the feline king, his very own companion until so recently, roamed freely, a silhouette of elegance and mystery. The man felt a quiet joy in knowing that somewhere under the velvety blanket of the night, the torch of feline kingship had been passed, and all was right in the realm of cats. The world beyond his cottage, with its gentle hills and murmuring brooks, became a landscape of peaceful lore and dreams interwoven, a place where the paths of cats and men might cross briefly under the eyes of a softly glowing moon. As the comfort of sleep wrapped around him like a well-worn quilt, the thoughts of cats and kingdoms faded, leaving behind a serene silence. The man knew that come the morning light, this extraordinary night would weave itself into the tapestry of his life, a quaint reminder of the magic that lay just beyond the edge of the ordinary. In the stillness of the quiet night, the cottage stood as a guardian of this secret tale, nestled within its emerald valley. So, the man drifted into the depth of sleep, wrapped in the gentle embrace of dreams, where the purrs of an unseen king mingled with the whispers of the night, serenading him into the soft oblivion of rest. And so, within the serene hush of the night, the tale of the king of the cats folded into the day, a gentle mystery left to the romantic whispers of the wind and the soft rustle of leaves, where stories sometimes begin and end, shrouded in the magic of sleep. Let your breathing slow and allow yourself to follow where this next story leads. There was once, in the annals of old Ireland, a land of emerald woods and silver lochs, a king named Lir. His realm was one of gentle rains and soft, sweeping mists that clung to the rolling hills like a comforting shroud. The kingdom was blessed with beauty, from the calm, mirror-like surfaces of its lakes to the whispering winds rustling through forests dense and ancient, where time seemed to stand still. King Lir, though powerful, was a man of deep heart and great love, and his heart sang the most for his 4 children, Fionn, Aoth, and the twins, Fiacra and Con. They brought him joy unmatched, their laughter like a gentle breeze carrying the scent of wildflowers from a distant meadow. The children grew in grace and kindness, known throughout the land for their gentle natures and radiant beauty. Their mother had passed on to the next world, leaving behind a space in their hearts and lives that was tender and untouched. In time, Lar remarried, hoping that this new queen might bring warmth and care to his children. The woman he chose was Aoife, sister to Lir's first beloved wife. But Aoife's heart harboured shadow, born of envy that twisted like brambles beneath the surface of her smiles. Despite the kindness of Lir's children, Aoife's jealousy grew, dark and insidious. She watched the king doting upon them beneath the golden glow of the candlelit evenings in their great hall, heard their laughter echo through chambers lined with tapestries of their ancestors, and she longed for the same affection. Bitterness, whispering like the harshest of winter winds, found root in her. One day, when the sun hung high and bright over the verdant hills, and the air was rich with the scent of peat smoke curling lazily skyward, Aoife proposed a journey. "Let us visit your father's land," she suggested to the children, her voice as smooth as the quiet ripples on a calm river. The children, trusting as always, their hearts open and unguarded, happily agreed. The journey took them through dense woods, where the dappled sunlight danced upon the leaves in patterns of gold and green. They passed by tinkling streams, whose waters sang a song of ancient stones, and over the hills where the hardy sheep grazed quietly under the watchful eye of shepherds in woolen cloaks. As they journeyed, the children sang, their voices blending harmoniously with the rustling leaves and the distant call of a lark. Arriving at the shores of a tranquil lake, where the water lay like a sheet of glass untouched by breeze, Aoife called the children to her side. Her voice held a timbre that set the larks and quiet streams silent, as though nature itself paused in reverence or apprehension. Her intent, however, was not benign, for in her heart nestled a spell, a powerful enchantment drawn from the old world, whispered to her in dreams. With a flourish of her hand, she pronounced the spell, and the children of Lir felt their forms begin to alter, as though the very air around them shimmered with magic unseen yet potent. Gently, though strangely, feeling no pain, the children transformed into 4 swans, their wings as white as the driven snow, their eyes still shining with the light of their human souls. They were bewildered yet unafraid, their swan hearts filled with the same love they had known in their human forms. Aoife, perhaps struck by a moment of remorse, made them a promise. "You shall sail the lakes and rivers for 900 years," she said, "until a bell rings out across these lands, heralding the dawn of a new age." And with that, she left them, alone on the still waters. There were moments of wonder, for the world took on new hues in their swan eyes. They glided across the lake, their feathers skimming the surface, creating gentle ripples that spread wide and undisturbed. Each new dawn brought with it a sky full of promise, painted in hues of pink and gold. Evenings would fall softly, dusk bringing with it the soothing touch of moonlight reflected on the water's surface. Lir discovered the enchantment soon enough, his heart aching at the loss of his children. Yet he visited them often, calling to them with quiet words, his voice carrying across the tranquil waters, sustaining them with his love. The children found solace in each other and in the beauty of their surroundings. Their song became the song of the land, heard in the rustle of leaves and the murmur of flowing streams. The lakes they occupied were no longer just bodies of water, but became sanctuaries that held their dreams and whispered them to the winds. Inevitably, time passed slowly yet steadily, as unyielding as the mountains that bordered their waters, gently at first, then with the persistent rhythm that the ancients knew. Seasons unfurled, each different yet holding the same peaceful promise. In the winter months, a thin crust of frost would form atop the lakes. Under the twinkling watch of stars scattered like seeds across the velvet sky. When the winds rose cold over the wider seas, the swans held close to one another, and their song carried them gently through even the longest nights. In summer, the air was filled with the scent of clover and blooming heather, and the swans would dance upon the water, their reflections twirling on the mirror-still surface. Together, they would explore the many bends and curves of the rivers, where fields of daisies swayed in tune with the breezes. And so they sang, their voices the voice of wild Ireland itself. And bound as swans they endured the change of many cycles. And through their endurance, a gentler magic grew. Visitors to the lakes over the centuries would speak of the profound beauty of those swans, unearthly, but for the kindness in their eyes, and of a song so hauntingly sweet they could never forget it. Through the quiet rhythms of their lives, they came to know there was much to cherish. They were tireless guardians of that peaceful realm, as if each of their feathers held the magic of the land and sky, and their love, like an endless river, remained strong. Fionn, the wise sister, watched over her brothers, her soft calls echoing in the morning mist and the deepening dusk. Yet, as with all stories of old, there comes a turning upon which fortunes change. And so, on a day cloaked in the silvery embrace of dawn's first light, a tolling bell sounded. It came from across the waters, clear and resolute, carrying with it the ancient promise of freedom, of time yet to come. With careful grace, the swans made their way to the shore. As the resonance of the great bell faded into silence, a warmth washed over them like the first touch of spring, transforming them once more. Slowly, like the petals of a flower opening to the sun, they returned to human form. The swan's grace still visible in the gentle rhythm of their new step. The years had passed like gentle waves on the shore, and though the long ages showed in them now, their faces held the dignity and peace befitting those who had understood the world's quieter, enduring beauties. It is said they passed their last days where mountains met the sea, among rocky outcrops softened by the velvet of moss and the song of the wind through the heather. Life became a simple, sweet cadence, lived in harmony with the land they cherished. Their father, the great king, had long since gone from this earthly realm, yet they felt him near, in every breath of wind that rustled the leaves, every ripple that spread across the mirror-like lakes, and in the quiet moments of dawn, when the world shimmered with the gold of new beginnings. Thus unfolds the gentle tale of the Children of Lir, a story that whispers through the hills and valleys, caught in the tender gestures of nature's own storytelling, offering peace and reflection, a lullaby for times past and hopes yet to be fulfilled, like the softest hues of a sunset over the Irish countryside. It fades into the gentle embrace of night and lingers in the hearts of those who hear it. They spent their remaining days near the coast, where the rhythm of the tides became part of their own heartbeat. Each rise and fall, a reminder of the many chapters of their lives. The air was rich with the scent of sea salt and blooming gorse, carrying with it the stories of the ocean, murmured through the calls of distant seabirds. At dawn, they would walk along the sandy shores, their feet trailing paths through the cool sands, washed smooth by the night's high tide. The world was painted in pastel hues, the sky merging seamlessly with the sea. And in those quiet moments, they felt a profound connection to the earth and all its creatures. They recognized each shell and stone, every whispered breeze, as if they were pages in the story of their own lives. The people of nearby villages would often visit, inspired by their tale, seeking wisdom or comfort. The children, now grown, their faces telling a story deeper than time itself, offered gentle counsel, their voices carrying the warmth of firelight tales told on long winter nights. They shared the quiet truth that hardship carries its own kind of grace, a gift only visible when one looks with softened eyes. As the sun climbed higher and the land awoke in a spectrum of colours, they often gathered driftwood along the shore, fashioning small, simple homes where fires crackled warmly against the cool touch of coastal breezes. Within these humble walls, their conversations flowed like melodies, weaving together past and present with threads of laughter and reminiscence. On journeys that led them into the nearby woodlands, the forest enveloped them with scents of pine and earth, grounding their spirits. Birds serenaded their path, weaving through the ancient trees, and the children, though now grown, moved with the effortless grace of those who have known both the sky and its reflections. Their lives were marked by the gentle rhythms of the changing seasons. Spring brought new blooms in delicate pinks and whites. Summer, the long golden days filled with warmth and bounty. Autumn, the comforting crackle of leaves underfoot. And winter, the soft hush of snow falling over the hills. Every season, a precious chapter, turning the pages of their souls ever so gently. In the quiet of twilight, as they sat overlooking the sea, the waves lapping at the rocks below sang the familiar refrain of homecoming. The sun would set in a blaze of glory, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. The light shimmering softly over the water, a reflective mirror to the warmth fading from the day. And so they lived, quietly, peacefully, grounded amidst the endless cycle of life and renewal. Their days a testament to the power of patience and belief in a destiny fulfilled. Their legacy became one with the land, carried in the gentle breezes that brushed over the rolling greens, and the distant bell that had once told their freedom. In the depth of night, under a sky dusted with the brilliance of stars, they would listen to the whispers of the past, hear the heartbeats of those who came before, and find tranquility in knowing they too were part of this grand, beautiful tapestry. Together they wove the last threads of their journey into eternity. Their story, a gentle lullaby carried on the winds, offering solace and hope to all who would hear. The tale of the Children of Lir moved beyond words, into the realm of dreams and whispers, lingering softly in the dreams of those who lay their heads to rest, cradled by the soothing knowledge that even in the longest of nights, dawn will inevitably bring light anew. Rest easy. Our next story is just beginning. There was once a time nestled within the folds of ancient Ireland's mist-draped hills and song-filled valleys, where the whisper of the sea mingled with the fragrant breath of the countryside. It was a time when stories lay upon every tongue, where rivers parted the land like gentle strokes upon a canvas of green and gold. Among these rivers, winding through the heart of the island like a silken thread, was the River Boyne. It carried with it secrets of the ages, watched over by skies that seemed to breathe alongside the earth beneath their watchful calm. On its banks, the lines of stones hugged the water's edge, and soft grasses swayed with the murmurs of the lightest breeze. In a simple hut, not far from the river's gentle bend, there lived an old poet named Finnegas. His days were filled with the ebb and flow of verse, as poetic lines flowed as naturally from his thoughts as did the river beyond his doorway. With white hair that cascaded like a gentle waterfall, and eyes that mirrored the depth of a twilight sky, Finnegas devoted himself to a singular quest, 7 long and patient years of it, a pursuit that had filled his heart with wisdom and his life with purpose. He sought the fabled Salmon of Knowledge, a wondrous fish of ancient lore said to have fed upon the hazelnuts of wisdom that dropped from 9 ancient hazel trees into the water, gathering within itself the knowledge of the ages. To eat even a morsel of its flesh would be to hold the knowledge of the world in the palm of one's hand, an enticing promise that embraced the edges of dreams and the hushed echoes of the universe. And so it was, with the passage of time, that young Fionn mac Cumhail arrived at these riverbanks, with a heart that was quickened by both youth and curiosity. Fionn became apprentice to Finnegas, seeking his own path through the tapestry of the world, yet following the well-trodden footsteps of a mentor across the soft earth. The days that passed were marked by gentle rhythms. The morning sun, swathed in veils of dawn's quiet mist, spilled its warmth over the land, lighting the dewdrops that clung to blades of grass with 1,000 tiny stars. In the glen where Finnegas and Fionn made their abode, the mornings were filled with the scent of damp peat moss and the gentle crackle of a hearth slowly warming to life. As the sunlight streamed through the windows of the modest hut, ever casting delicate patterns upon the earthen floor, Finnegas would recite the old tales, speaking of lands far and wide, of the stars and the moon, and of worlds seen and unseen. Young Fionn listened, his soul drinking deeply from each tale, binding every word within the corners of his heart. It happened one day, as the leaf-laden boughs of the woods softly rustled in the serene breeze. That Finnegas and Fionn sat by the bank of the river. The old poet's eyes, though deeply knowing, wandered to the flowing waters, seemingly searching for some note within their silken song. As Finnegas cast his fishing line with the ease of years and the grace of practice, the earth around seemed to still. Even the river itself seemed to pause, as if holding its breath for what was about to unfold. They say the sun shimmered upon the surface of the water, casting a glow like long threads of silk glistening under an artist's careful brush. It wasn't long before a gentle tug, almost imperceptible, drew the line taut. The world watched as Finnegas lifted the line with his weathered hands, handling it as one might cradle something sacred and revered. And there it was, the fabled Salmon of Knowledge, its scales catching the midday light in a dance of shimmering silver, basking in an aureole of ancient wisdom. Finnegas, his heart swelling with a mixture of triumph and reverence, cradled this extraordinary gift from the river as gently as a mother might a newborn child, for he knew the weight of the moment, its aura alive with the culmination of lifelong hope brought tenderly to realization. Looking into Fionn's wide eyes, opened by wonder, Finnegas spoke with a voice that carried the quiet dignity of centuries past. You, my boy, shall be the one to prepare this fish. But remember, you must not taste it. I must be the first to know its wisdom. Fionn nodded, feeling the honor bestowed upon him, the trust of one's journey handed with care. As day slipped into the softened embrace of evening, with the sky awash in hues of honey and rose, Fionn found himself at the hearth once more, flames licking softly at the bricks, shadows swaying upon the walls like dancers in slow motion. The Salmon of Knowledge lay before him, resplendent even beyond the river, and it was with a hand as light as the gentlest down that Fionn began its preparation, his movements slow, mindful of each element of the task bestowed upon him. Outside, the world spoke in whispers, the tender whistle of wind weaving through the nearby thickets, the gentle applause of waves lapping against the stony bank, and the harmonious chorus of crickets as twilight deepened its hold. As Fionn attended to the cooking, a small blister of heat rose upon the salmon's shining skin, and when Fionn reached to press it smooth, a drop of warmth caught his thumb. His instincts, honed not by thought but by the reflexes of life, moved to soothe it. In this simple, natural act, Fionn pressed his thumb to his lips. In that instant, beneath the twilight's quiet spectacle, a rush of knowledge cascaded through him. It filled the expanse of his being like the unfurling of a vast and star-laden sky. Each pinpoint light, a piece of the universe's grand and intricate design. And with this silent epiphany, the world seemed to ease into even deeper peace, as if acknowledging the shifting tides that had moved unseen through the hours of that long expected day. When Finnegas entered, his eyes set upon Fionn. There was a glow about the young lad, a quiet depth that one might see in the still waters of the river when darkness and light meet in rare equilibrium. "Have you eaten of the fish, my boy?" the old poet asked gently. "No," said Fionn. "Only a drop of heat caught my thumb as it cooked, and I put it to my mouth to cool it." And with that, Finnegas understood. He saw within Fionn's eyes the shimmering depths of knowledge, the patient circle of ages laid bare. The old poet felt the warmth of recognition, not of a loss, but rather of the fulfillment of a much larger destiny. He nodded gently and set the whole of the salmon before the boy, bidding him eat it all. For the gift, once begun, was his to carry, as the tools of wisdom gently rested at last upon the shoulders of Fionn, who would carry them forward across the tale of his life. "You are the one," Finnegas spoke, his voice as soft and nurturing as the coastal breeze that surely sang upon the farthest shores. "For it was meant to be you, Fionn, the one to bear this gift of knowledge." In this conclusion lay a tranquility and a gracefulness, the echoes of life's stories stitching seamlessly back into the gentle weave of the universe. For as the stars began to bloom above cloaked branches and cradling hills, as the earth listened with its eternal patience, Fionn, wisdom newly kindled within him, stood nested in the nurturing blanket of night. The tranquility of the river shared its soft secrets beneath the cloak of starlight, and the night enveloped the land with a tenderness, a calmness only found at the heart of every good night to the world. The crackling fire subsided to embers, glowing like ancient runes, their warmth a harbour within the cool reach of evening. As the moon wandered high, its path a silent journey among the dreams of the sleeping world, the tiredness of day fell sweetly upon the two as slumber wrapped the world. Thus, the tale of the Salmon of Knowledge found its resting place, as did Fionn and Finnegas, under a firmament that sang of stories old and as yet untold, quietly painting beneath its grand canopy dreams of knowledge, gathered ethereal and profound beyond each star's pulse. In this way, they lay in peaceful respite, sheltered together in a realm where reality and dreams shared a tender boundary, and the night itself cradled them, drawing from the eternal song of earth and stream. And so it was that even as the great river sighed, slowing to whisper, so too did the world drift gently into the embrace of another night. where time seemed to slow, each moment unfurling like the delicate petals of a blooming flower, kissed by the gentle breath of the night air. The river, a silent sentinel, traced its ancient path beneath the stars, which twinkled against the vast velvet sky, their light a comforting pulse, guiding travellers across both land and dreams alike. Amidst this tranquil scene, the whispers of the earth told tales of journeys past, echoing through the night with a quiet grace. As Fionn nestled into the embrace of sleep, his mind wandered through a tapestry of newfound understandings, connecting paths forged long before, weaving together a symphony of knowledge that lay, unseen, within the heart of the universe. Finnegas watched the young boy with eyes softened by wisdom, acknowledging the shift of a destiny now set into motion. In surrendering the quest of a lifetime, Finnegas felt the gentle release of a burden he had carried for many years. His heart, lightened by the fulfillment of a vision, found peace in the promise that the journey continued beyond his grasp, within the heart of the young hero beside him. In the gentle cocoon of their modest abode, the night played its hushed lullaby. The ever-present song of the river harmonized with the rustling leaves, their language that of ancient trees conferring secrets from star to root. The cool night air crept softly through the window, carrying the scent of moss and fertile earth, caressing skin in tender repose. The fire, its dance now quieted to the flicker of shadows, bathed the room in a warm embrace, its dim glow casting serene shapes that swayed across walls, like the gentle sway of ancestral stories. In this half-light, Fionn's dreams mingled with the world's breath, each in-breath a gathering of wisdom, each out-breath a relinquishing of wonder into the world. Along the river banks, the night creatures stirred softly in the shadows, their movements an unseen ballet beneath the starlit canopy. An owl, the silent guardian of the night, lifted with graceful ease from an old oak, its feathered wings barely stirring the stillness as it glided in search of secrets in the moonlit landscape. Time, wrapped gently within the fold of night's embrace, wove its unhurried tale through the moments. Each heartbeat was a testament to the passage of existence, each breath a link in the ephemeral chain binding day to night, life to legend, and that which was known to that which would forever remain mysterious. And so, within this serene reverie, Fionn's eyelids fluttered over eyes that had glimpsed the vastness of creation. The fire of knowledge, burning softly but steadily within. His mind, cradled by the quiet, ventured to dream paths unseen, where stories yet to unfold stretched before him like the endless rivers flowing to the inexorable sea. With the night holding its quiet vigil, Fionn and Finnegas drifted deeper into the embrace of sleep. The tales of rivers and stars, of fish and flame, soothing their hearts, their spirits enmeshed within the gentle, abiding hum of the world as it whispered softly, carrying them along on waves of whispering grace. The night is quiet, and so are we. Our next story begins softly now. There was once, in the verdant, rolling hills of Ireland, a small village tucked gently against the green slopes of the earth, where the sky often stretched high and wide above the meadow's quiet hum, and rain fell softly as a whispered secret. This village was home to a kind soul, a hunchback named Lusmore, known far and wide for his gentle spirit and the ever-present sprig of foxglove, Lusmore the great herb. He wore tucked into his cap the very sprig that had given him his name, its sweet scent mingling with the fragrance of peat smoke curling from the village hearths. Lusmore was a man of modest means, but his heart was rich with kindness. He was content to spend his days among the whispers of the tall grasses and under the watchful gaze of ancient stones scattered across the landscape, each marking the lore of times long past. It was on one of these serene afternoons, with the sun hovering tenderly over the horizon and casting long shadows over the sleepy fields, that Lusmore found himself meandering along a winding path leading to Knockgrafton Hill. The wind that day was a gentle one, caressing his face like a grandmother's tender hands and carrying the distant murmur of the sea. As Lusmore approached the hill, he found the air around it buzzing with a peculiar energy, one that seemed to dance between the delicate trill of birdsong and the sigh of the earth itself. The closer he came, the more the atmosphere hummed with something otherworldly. As Lusmore settled himself upon a nearby stone, warmed by a day's sun, he closed his eyes and let the gentle sounds of nature wash over him. But above the rustle and sigh of the world around him, a sweet melody began to drift through the evening air. A soft, ethereal chorus, sung by voices he could not see. Harmonious and captivating, the song seemed to rise from within the hill itself, carrying with it a rhythm that spoke of forgotten realms and the passage of the stars. Enthralled, Lusmore listened closely, and slowly he made out the words the voices wove, over and over, round and round. Da Luan, da Mor, Monday and Tuesday, Monday and Tuesday, the old names of the days, circling like the gentle swell of the waves far from the shore, taking a deep, contented breath that mixed with the earthy aroma of the moss-covered stone. He waited for the turn of the tune, and where the song seemed to pause and long for more, he softly offered his own small gift, Agus da Cadin. And Wednesday, too, his tones blended seamlessly with the unseen chorus, a humble harmony that seemed to bring an added layer of sweetness to the evening air, as if he had gently finished a thought the fairies had left open. No sooner had Lusmore's voice joined the ethereal melody than the world around him shifted. The wind whispered a little softer. The earth settled beneath him, and a quiet stillness enveloped the hill. It was as if the very magic of Knockgrafton had paused, drawn by the new voice among them, a voice coloured by sincerity and warmth. The fairies of the hill, so enchanted by Lusmore's gentle song, emerged from their hidden places beneath the earth, their appearance as fleeting and wondrous as the gleam of the evening star. They gathered around the kindly man, their eyes alight with delight and wonder, like dew-dropped leaves catching the first rays of dawn. There was an ancient wisdom about them, cloaked in an otherworldly beauty that breathed secret marvels into the night air. Lusmore of the noble heart, they sang, their voices a delicate breeze of sound. You have finished our song and graced it with your own, adding sweetness to our cadence. For this gift, we offer a boon in return. The air shimmered softly around Lusmore as the fairies, with gentle hands and murmured words, touched his shoulder. In a moment, brief and timeless, the burden of his hump disappeared, leaving him light and free as the evening breeze carrying the scent of blossoms through the glen. Grateful tears welled in Lusmore's eyes as he felt their transformative magic, a balm of kindness washing over him with the serenity of 1,000 lullabies. The fairies, with smiles as soft as morning mist, bade him farewell, and Lusmore returned to his village, a new lightness in his step, both figuratively and literally. Word of Lusmore's fortune spread swiftly through the village, carried by the whispering winds and the turning wheels of gossip, weaving its way through the thatched roofs and stone walls of the little homes clustered under the wide Irish sky. Each heart beat a little more buoyantly with the knowledge that something so miraculous could happen so close to home. Not far from Lusmore's hearth lived a man named Eamon, one who, unlike Lusmore, was not content with his lot in life. Envious of the miracle bestowed upon Lusmore, Eamon hatched a plan to visit Knockgrafton himself, in hopes of earning the favour of the fairies. His heart, however, was not one of simple joys. Instead, it beat with a desire fueled not by the music of the fairies, but by tales of untold riches and impossible desires. On a night when the silvery moon hung like a sentinel in the dark velvet sky, Eamon set out for Knockgrafton Hill, the world around him hushed by a stillness that seemed to echo the quiet anticipation behind his eyes. He climbed the gentle slope, where shadows lay long and soft, like blankets strewn across a sleeping child, and settled among the grasses to seek the fairies' song. In time, the same ethereal melody began to rise around him, the old words circling as before. Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday too. Yet Eamon, greedy for a greater gift than Lusmore's, did not wait for the turn of the tune. Hungry to add more, and so to earn more, he tumbled his own words in all at once, and Thursday and Friday, careless of the meter, and his voice fell like a discordant note breaking the peace of the night. The fairies emerged once more, though this time their manner was not the warmth of welcome, but rather gentle dismay at the disturbance of their nightly harmony. Faces aglow with ancient insight and timeless knowledge, they approached Eamon with serene understanding. "Your song is not in tune with ours," they said, their voices the whisper of leaves stirring in the evening breeze. "A lesson we must offer, a reflection of understanding and acceptance." With a light touch and soft murmur, the fairies took note of his misaligned heart, his desires so different from the harmonious give and take of the music that surrounded him. As they turned their sight on Eamon's form, their magic manifested not as a gift, but as a kind reminder of humility. In the morning light, as the first rays poured over Knockgrafton, painting the world in hues of gold and emerald, Eamon found a new burden upon his back. The very weight that had once been lifted from Lusmore, come to rest now upon him. A reminder of the balance that the natural world seeks in its own quiet way. Returning to his home, Eamon carried with him a lesson more precious than any boon he could have asked for, an understanding of contentment found not in what one seeks to gain, but in the simple joys already woven through his life, much like the weave of a treasured patchwork quilt. So it was that in the village, nestled under the timeless watch of Knockgrafton, the tale of Lusmore and Eamon came part of the evening lore, shared by the fireside over the soft woolen warmth of shepherd's sweaters and the steam rising from earthen mugs. The scent of the earth, of moss and wildflowers, mingled ever so gently with the tender smoke that marked the hearths of those who knew to listen to the world around them as Lusmore had. And in the end, the villagers learned to find joy in the company of their neighbours, in the music of the world itself. A world that, as the fairies had shown, holds its own magic for those who listen with their hearts. And if you ever find yourself wandering the soft hills of Ireland, where the land meets the sky in a tender embrace, you might pause and be still, listening closely to the melodies carried on the wind. Perhaps you'll glimpse Lusmore in the shadows of cloud and sun, his heart singing the quiet songs of the fairy chorus, a reminder of how the simplest joys can lighten the heaviest of burdens. Under the wide and gentle arc of the sky, the story of Knockgrafton remains, a lullaby echoed in the quiet places where magic dwells unseen, waiting patiently to be heard by those who dare to open their hearts to the whispers of the world. As the seasons turned in their eternal dance, the tale of Lusmore and Eamon became a cherished part of the village's fabric. Children would gather at the feet of the elders, eyes wide with wonder and anticipation, as the elders spun the story like a delicate web woven with the threads of history and myth. The nights would grow darker, the stars shimmering in their celestial tapestry, while the hearth's glow cocooned the listeners in its comforting embrace. The villagers learned to cherish the simple moments, the way the sun spilt golden across the fields at dawn, lighting up the dew-laden webs as if jeweled, or the sound of the soft rain tapping a gentle rhythm on thatched roofs. They found delight in the susurrus of the woodland, the rustle of the leaves harmonizing with the songs of dawn and dusk. These were their joys, offerings of a world filled with quiet magic, for those patient enough to listen. Often, villagers would visit Knockgrafton with offerings of their own, a handful of wild flowers, or a small stone polished by the river, tokens of gratitude left at the hill's base. They'd pause, breathing in the coolness of the air, perhaps catching a fleeting note of fairy song on the wind. Lusmore, now walking with a newfound grace and a spirit even brighter than before, often strolled the paths leading to the high hill. He would greet the wild creatures with a kind word and tend to the small garden plots that sprung under his care, each plant vibrant and alive, echoing his inner contentment. Sometimes, when evening fell softly and the skies blushed with the hues of departing daylight, he would hum the gentle tune that had endeared him to the fairies, each note woven with the quiet peace he found in the life he led, where simplicity bred a tenderness that resonated with the very soul of the land. For Eamon, the lesson was a blessing wrapped in disguise. He came to embrace his own new shape, seeing in it a map of life's unpredictabilities. His gaze wandered less towards distant, unattained desires, and more so to the wonders at hand. The play of light across a flowing brook, the delicate flight of a butterfly, the companionship of the village folk, enriched not by gains, but by the sharing of life itself. As time pushed gently forward, fair winds carrying the calls of the cuckoo in spring and the crackle of autumn leaves underfoot, the village settled into a harmonious rhythm. Here, nestled between the steadfast hills and the endless sky, they lived their days in the luminous simplicity of gratitude. They sang their songs, each with their own cadence, their own voice, part of a chorus unsung, but always present in the rustle of the grass, the lap of the sea upon the shore, and the soft lull of dreams, wistful with the whisper of fairies. And thus, the ballad of Lusmore and Eamon, born from a small village breathing with gentle life, continued to drift through the whispers of time, echoing in the hearts of those willing to listen to the quiet teachings of the world. It became a tale of grace and gratitude, a testament to the power of humble harmony to lift even the heaviest of burdens, speaking softly of the joy found in the acceptance of one's own path. Tread lightly upon the earth. And so ends our journey for tonight. I hope it carried you somewhere peaceful. Sleep well.